The father of chronology, the founder of the science of time, the man who established the fundamentals of properly ordering the events of the past. Who is he, you might ask? Stay tuned to find out. But before that, I want to give a huge thanks to the Ctruth patrons for their continued support in my endeavors to investigate history and to produce content based on those investigations. If you want to support Ctruth and have a name added to that list, go to www.patreon.com/Ctruth. There you can gain access to exclusive Ctruth activities, benefits, and content. Become a Ctruth patron today at www.patreon.com/Ctruth. I hope to see you there. Now then, let's move on to the main event. Let me begin by stating that my information here is based upon my initial investigation into the identity of the father of chronology. I posted the article containing the results of my investigation on November 7th, 2020, and a link to that can be found in the description to this video. I ended up finding 6 different people who had been called by such a title. Out of those 6, I found 3 to have somewhat of a decent reason for being titled as such, 2 to have somewhat foggy or dubious reasons for gaining the title, and 1 was called as such completely by accident. My investigation also gave results that are useful in determining when each individual was first called the father of chronology, as well as for determining when the specific titling trend began. I cover this in more detail throughout the video, but in summary, this habit of titling individuals as the father of chronology possibly existed in 1600, but definitely existed in the 18th century. With that being said, here are the main results of my study so far. First up is Eratosthenes of Cyrene. He is the only ancient person that I'm aware of who has been called the father of chronology. He's also potentially the first person to have ever been called the father of chronology. I explain why I said potentially in part 4. It was in 1784 that William Mitford began publishing his work titled History of Greece. In the 1789 edition that I used, Mitford claimed that Eratosthenes of Cyrene had a reputation as the father of scientific chronology. I think Mitford cited the chronologist John Blair, but I have yet to find anything from Blair that would substantiate Mitford's claim. Blair died in 1782, and so I feel comfortable saying that at least in the 18th century, Eratosthenes had obtained his reputation as the father of chronology, or scientific chronology. But why did he gain this reputation? I think it's because he wrote a history of Greece which covered the events from the fall of Troy to the death of Alexander the Great. I'll explore the specific question of why for each of these people in more detail in future content, given that this video is more about who has been called the father of chronology as opposed to why each person has been called the father of chronology. Next up is Joseph Justus Scaliger, the first person who I had ever heard the title attributed to. I also think he is the most deserving of the title out of the 6 people on my list. Aside from father of chronology, he's been called the father of modern chronology, the founder of modern chronology, the founder of modern chronological sciences, and the father of scientific chronology. The reason why Scaliger is called as such is due to his works on chronology that were published in the late 16th and early 17th centuries. The impact Scaliger had on chronology was summed up by the renowned scholar Anthony Grafton in 1975 when he said, "Before Scaliger, there had been 2 schools of thought about the use of ancient sources for chronology. One school followed the Bible and the text forged by Annius of Viterbo, the other school followed the Bible alone." As per Scaliger's title, Grafton basically called Scaliger the founder of modern chronology in 2003 when he said, "Scaliger not only devised but became the modern discipline of chronology, he also opened its ancient Pandora's box of intractable data about the early history of the world." But when was the first time Scaliger was called the father of chronology? The earliest instance of this that I have seen so far dates to 1862. All the other instances date to the 20th and 21st centuries. Due to this, I feel comfortable saying that the 19th century is the earliest that Scaliger had been dubbed the father of chronology. Third in the sequence is Onofrio Panvinio. He's the only one who I'm aware of that was potentially called the father of chronology in 1600. This information is based upon Dr. Stefan Bauer's The Invention of Papal History, Onofrio Panvinio Between Renaissance and Catholic Reform, which was published in December 2019. Bauer claimed that Panvinio's contemporaries called Panvinio the father of chronology. Bauer made a more specific claim about this too, that being that in 1600 Justus Lipsius called Panvinio the Veris Pater Principalis Historiae et Fastorum, which Bauer's book has translated as the true and principal father of history and chronology. The word I want more information on is fastorum, which I think is the Latin word for calendar. Due to my own lack of knowledge on how that word was used by Lipsius or by anyone else around 1600, I don't feel comfortable claiming for certain that Panvinio was the first to be called the father of chronology, because it seems to me right now that he was more directly called the father of calendars, which may mean the same thing, but I'm hesitant to generate any serious convictions on that in the present moment due to my lack of familiarity with the word fastorum. If you know more about this word than I do, please reach out to me and fill me in on the details that I'm missing. I found Bauer's book to be the fundamental source that calls Panvinio the father of chronology, and so I feel comfortable saying that I think Panvinio was first called the father of chronology in the English language in 2019, and possibly in the Latin language in 1600. For me, the reason why he gained the title is still foggy, but regardless of that, he does appear to have been held in the highest regards by his contemporaries for his historical scholarship, especially for his works on church history. The next two people are Dionysius Petavius and Maurus Dantine. They fall into my category of uncertainty. The sources for the claims are obscure to the point that I don't even know the names of the people who made the claims. Petavius was called the founder of modern chronology on July 13, 2020. The article that called him that was from an anonymous source, which I found to be sketchy. I think possibly the author got confused between Scaliger and Petavius because Petavius was familiar with Scaliger's work and refined it. This established Petavius as a prominent chronologist of the 17th century, but I'm not aware of him being very innovative outside of what Scaliger had done. The source also didn't seem to be too familiar with who Scaliger was. Maurus Dantine was identified by Zoll Books as the founder of chronology as a branch of history as science, basically calling him the founder of scientific chronology. The copyright on the page is 2014. This is the only source that I have found that names Dantine as such. I emailed the email provided on the website to ask about the source for their information, but the person who responded said that whoever it was that posted that information was no longer employed there. The final person on my list is Kenneth A. Kitchen. He was called the father of modern chronology completely by mistake on October 9, 2018. I determined this was a mistake by contacting the person responsible for making the claim. It does appear to me that that person has since gone back and corrected his mistake. I think if it's possible, the best thing a person can do after making a mistake is being honest and correcting it, so props to that individual for doing so. That concludes my presentation. If you haven't done this already, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and drop a comment. Let me know who you think is the true father of chronology. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, take care.